There are two tales waiting for you, told one after the other by an odd set of two. So prepare yourself, dear one, because this is Drops of Darkness.
Hello, I'm Anodyne Vaughn, and welcome to our show, where each week we give you a new original dark fiction story written and narrated by me, paired with a true paranormal experience, selected and read by my co-host Cameron Helkuik. On today's episode, I've taken something sacred, a hot, relaxing shower, and made it the playground of today's horror story titled The Gift. Then get ready, because Cameron's got a fantastically freaky story of a no-faced figure. As always, thank you for listening, and if you enjoy what we do, we would really appreciate it if you told your friends about the show. Drops of Darkness is a weekly production put on by two people who would rather eat glass than figure out social media, so word of mouth is where it's at. So please save us from having to research hashtags, because I don't think Cameron would make it. Alright, enough of all that. Stranger and someone are waiting. I am Stranger, and I tell only fantasies. Whenever your world has a grip on your throat, I am there, waiting to unleash the monsters that sleep in my mind, so that they may remind you that you have sharp teeth and claws of your own. Adam undressed and braced himself against the bathroom sink to wait for the shower to warm up. His phone rested on the counter with the email from his surgeon's office still pulled up on the screen. His lab results came back. No sign of rejection. The last of the bandages only came off a few days ago, but the operation was already hailed a success. After a grueling battle against his own body, Adam waited for relief to wash over him, though none came. He was shaky, a sour taste built in his mouth, and all he could muster was surprise at the good news. The surgeon assured him he'd feel better by now. More like his usual self, a low standard for someone who's waited out the last few years on a transplant list. Yet, instead of feeling better, Adam found himself feeling worse than ever, as though his body was still straining to adjust to a heart that wasn't his. Each day felt like an endless struggle that left him drained. Once the room stopped spinning, he lifted his eyes to the mirror and stared at the scabby incision adorning his chest. Even through the steam blurring his reflection, he could still make out the angry scarlet line that marred his skin. With clumsy fingers, Adam swiped the email off his screen, and after a few taps, a loud, angsty song screamed from his phone's speakers and reverberated off the soap scum tile. He never really cared for this type of music before, but the last few weeks, it grew on him. He set the phone on the back of the toilet, stepped over the side of the tub, and pulled the shower curtain shut behind him. Finally, under the steady stream of hot water and heavy bass, his muscles loosened, and his shoulders fell away from their near-constant position up by his ears, just as Adam's thoughts began to drift. A loud banging jolted his mind and his tense shoulders back into place. Adam lived alone, but someone just knocked. No, pounded on his bathroom door. Or so he thought. Frozen in place, he waited to hear it again. But the only thing he heard was the playlist. A verse shifted back to a chorus, and he heard the pounding again. Which wasn't really pounding at all, but an over-edited bass beat laced throughout the unfamiliar song. He let out the breath caught in his throat and put his hand on his chest as he winced through the startled, heavy heartbeat that rattled underneath his half-healed scar. Shaking his head, He reached a dripping hand out from the shower curtain and fumbled with the volume buttons on the side of his phone, nearly dropping it more than once into the open toilet, before finally just turning it off altogether. In the silence, like the wisps of steam in the bathroom, an unfamiliar dread filled the stranger's heart in Adam's chest. But he knew better. It had just been the music. Right? He twisted the shower knob past the red H on the dial and filled his palm with eucalyptus and mint-scented goo from the bottle he grabbed off the corner of the tub. He scrubbed at his scalp with the shampoo until thick, foamy lather spilled down his neck, ears, and over his face. "That's not yours," said a voice. A voice that came from the other side of the curtain. Adam's eyes snapped open, and immediately they started to burn as soap flooded them. "You shouldn't have that," the voice whined as Adam frantically wiped his burning eyes with his hands. Squinting through the stinging tears, he saw the shape of a man standing across from him, separated only by a thin sheet of yellowing plastic. Fingers, tipped in sharp, red-stained nails, wrapped around the edge of the curtain. "It's not fair. I had a deal." Adam backed away, but all too soon he found himself backed into the corner, his heat-pinked skin pressed against the cold tile. What stepped into the tub with him was not a man. The demon was as naked as him, draped only in gray, sagging flesh that wrapped in puckered, wrinkled layers around his bony limbs. "You have something of mine." The demon pointed one of his long fingers at Adam's chest. "It wasn't theirs to give to you. They already promised it to me. They promised. So why do you have my heart?" Under the stream of hot water, the mottled skin started to slip off its bones. First from the demon's head, then its face, revealing a twisted mass of rotting flesh with 2 empty holes for its eyes and a drooping gash lined with mismatching teeth as a mouth. And it was then that Adam realized that the demon was not naked, but clothed in the skin that was wrapped tight around the rest of his donor's pieces, holding them in place as they were puppeted by their new owner. The heart had been sold long before it found a place to hide in Adam's chest. It would never belong to him. Not really. Wet, slippery fingers wormed their way under the damp scabs of his incision. "Wait!" cried Adam, unable to back away farther. "Please, I need it." The demon stopped, its fingers brushing the surface of Adam's sternum. Just let me borrow it, and then you can have it and the rest of me when I'm dead." And then, just like that, Adam was alone, with the shower curtain still ajar and the metallic smell of blood tinging the steamy air. His chest and stomach were covered in red, so he stood and rinsed until the water at his feet ran clear. He turned off the shower, wrapped himself in a towel, and wiped the fog off the mirror with hands that shook for new reasons. There was no angry red scar on his chest anymore, just a healed, pale line, and he wondered just how long his heart's owner was willing to wait. Hello, everyone. In between stories, we like to highlight a cause that is worth our collective attention. For May and Mental Health Awareness Month, we decided to highlight the National Alliance on Mental Illness. NAMI is dedicated to improving the lives of those affected by mental illness through advocacy, education, and support. With their programs and resources, they're breaking the stigma and providing hope to millions. You can find out more and donate at www.nami.org or from the link on our website at dropsofdarkness.com. And now, back into the shadows we go.
I am someone, and I tell only truth. Whenever something slithers through the barrier between worlds, I am there. Not to stop them, but to watch them and remind you of the countless terrors your kind has survived, all on their own. This story was submitted by Ataka-sama, whose Reddit handle is listed in the episode's description. I'm 21 years old now, but this happened when I was younger. Me and my family walked into our new house and started looking around. And my 3 sisters instantly ran upstairs to go pick their rooms. But I was still walking with my mother and father in the kitchen just to see how the kitchen and dining room looked. My mother told me to go upstairs and look for what room I wanted. So I started running upstairs, happy to find my room. But on my way up, I saw my 3 sisters standing at the top of the stairs, all together. Just quiet, looking straight ahead. I get to the top of the stairs with them, and I see this black figure hunched over. It had no face, no legs that I could see. It just was a black cloaked figure. Then, all of a sudden, it ran to the middle room and shut the door. And they all ran downstairs to tell our parents. But I just stood there to make sure it didn't run out. Then my father ran up the stairs and saw the direction that I was looking in and ran into the room. I followed him in just to find out that the room was completely vacant, with no traces of escape or any evidence of anything being in there. After that, our parents agreed that we should all sleep in the same room, which was my mother's room. I remember us all getting ready to go to bed, and me being the last one to go to sleep. And as soon as I closed my eyes, I had a dream that I was watching all of us asleep from the corner. I couldn't move at all. I could only just stand there and watch from the corner. Then all of a sudden, I was able to look down at my hand, and it wasn't my hand. It was long and black with long nails. And then all of a sudden, it forced me to look up at myself, and I charged myself. I recall waking up to see that the room wasn't empty. It was full of people and even the ambulance. I was asking what was wrong and how did everyone get here, but they only were telling me that I was screaming the whole time. They didn't let me explain myself. They just picked me up on the carrier and brought me to the car. But on my way out, I saw the thing in the corner. The weirdest part is that no one remembers seeing the black thing, and they just say that they don't know what I'm talking about.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Drops of Darkness, which is written, voiced, and produced by Anodyne Vaughn and Cameron Helkuik. If you enjoyed your drift into the shadows, help keep the stories alive by sharing the show, leaving a review, and if you really want to earn the favor of these dark storytellers, tether yourself to their world by tapping subscribe. If you have a true paranormal story of your own that you'd like to be read by someone, you can make the offering to submissions@dropsofdarkness.com or through the form on our website. Until next time, dear one, and remember, when the darkness looks your way, hold its gate.